Hi, Carly.
Good morning.
How are
How are
you?
you? Oh, we're in sync.
We are indeed in sync. It must be this time of the year with that beautiful full moon we've just had.
It has been beautiful, really noticeable as well. Whenever there's a little bit of unease, what's happening? It's a full moon.
Yeah, that's right. So, what have we got on our topic list today?
Well, we have something which can be taken as quite a sensitive topic. It is a sensitive topic, but one that I think we both agree needs to be raised and addressed, just to move that conversation forward, allow people to be aware of how they can get help, and also allow people to know they have a voice, which is exactly what the Sparcis's podcast is all about. So what I'm talking about here is sexual harassment in the workplace, and especially in the spa, wellness, alternative practitioner settings.
Mm-hmm.
Julie, you really have kind of been leading on this research that you found. So I'll take it over. Sorry, I'll let you take over and introduce this survey that we've found, or you found, and that we really want to share with everyone today.
Yeah, thank you, Carly. Yeah, a very important topic, and I think, as you said, one that is often not talked about openly enough or clearly enough. So I belong to an international association of complementary therapists called FOIT, and they have a magazine called Focus on Health and Wellbeing. And through them, they have teamed up with something called ThinkTree Hub, which is also an international professional association for complementary healthcare, wellness, and well-being. And they've recently been doing some work on trying to have a certificate, or like a little badge, I think it is, that you can put on your website to let the public know that you are a qualified therapist, because there have been very many vulnerable people out there over the last few years looking for a therapist, and they've been caught out by going and visiting perhaps non-qualified people. And so therefore, this is the next extension of that relationship, is now they want to actually work out how we can protect more the therapists themselves. And so they've come up together with a survey to really gather as much information as possible about experiences that people have been having within their business of, let's say, a sexual harassment nature. And this is completely anonymous. It doesn't take very long to do the survey, but it's important information. It's important data, because I think, I think we underestimate the numbers on this.
Yeah.
And I think what they're trying to do is trying to gather, well, what sort of incidences have occurred? How do we classify them? How do we deal with them? And, we also had an opportunity within the survey, because I did it myself, to make some suggestions for them. So it's really a place where we can air our thoughts and air our own personal ideas. And of course, this could obviously be very triggering for some people as well. So it could be a very emotional moment. But what they've also said is that, if you need help, you can reach out to them, which I think is wonderful, because sometimes you may not be listened to. You may not be believed. And it's really important, I think, to have somewhere where you can go and express those emotions and those feelings, and whether they're anger, their fear, because, I know firsthand, and I think you'll agree with me here, that when that happens to you, it is incredibly confrontational.
Yeah, I have experienced a couple of occasions where that I've been put in a horrible, compromised situation, which I don't mind sharing with people, because I think it's really important. And, it was a full-blown, what you would imagine it to be, doing a very professional remedial massage, and it was a referral from another therapist who she was relocating, so she had a body of clients that she actually handed over to me to take on. And when this person approached me, you know, innocently, naively, kind of just went through my processes and consultation. Or I will say I had a gut feeling that I didn't follow at that time. You know, we're talking about 10, 11 years ago. I didn't know how to acknowledge my gut feeling at that time. I've done a lot of work on that. Fortunately for me, it wasn't in a private home environment. It was in a professional osteopathic practice. But still, that didn't deter this person from going all out and exposing himself, and me being left in a horrific situation. But I was so glad that I had support downstairs. You know, the osteopaths downstairs all helped me at the time, and we had police, and it was horrific. And I was only in my late 20s, and I'd heard about this happening to therapists, but it never directly happened to me. A few kind of lighter occasions, if I can even say that they're lighter. But, you know, I think it's really sad to think that we tolerate behaviour, which I definitely think I did back then. You sort of tolerate certain things, and, you know, weird comments or suggestions, and but this was full on what you would imagine. And you know, I did take action at the time, and it's just horrific. But also what's weird is when you talk to fellow therapists about these things at the time, it was kind of made a bit lighthearted, and we were sort of laughing about it in the end. And actually, again, there's this naivety, and maybe it's a trauma thing. You don't realize the extent of what's just happened, and people deal with things in different ways. And maybe one of my kind of defaults is to sort of try to laugh things off, because that's how I cope with things on a personal level. But this can really affect people much deeper, and it's not funny by all means. No. It really isn't. But I'd like to hear from therapists. I'd like people to kind of, if they feel comfortable, you know, come forward and share their experiences. They sort of fester and linger in the background as this sort of thing that happened to you, but actually they need to be talked about and made normal, I guess. It's sad that it is normal, that these things happen, that might feel okay and normal, but it's really not. It's not normal.
It's not normal on any level. I mean, no. If somebody comes up to you in the street and tries to, let's say, proposition you and physically touches you, as far as I'm aware, that's a reason for you to actually call the police. So if it's happening on the street and it happens behind closed doors, it should be with the same level, treated with the same level of I think, of severity. You know, it's not okay on any level, from between any sex, between any preference or whatever. You know, if it's an unrequired, let's say an unsolicited request that you're receiving, you've done nothing in your power to have given anybody the wrong impression, then it's not wanted. And I think, you know, we have to also look at how do we make people absolutely clear. Yes, okay, if you would like to go off and have that certain, you know, kind of a finish to your treatment, you know, don't come to us, because we are serious therapists and we value what we do and we take care of our staff, and it won't be tolerated. I think it's like a zero tolerance level. I mean, I'm almost to the point where I'm almost thinking of blacklist. You know, as horrible as that may sound, but, you know, people who habitually go around and try to think that this is normal should be on a list. Yeah. Maybe I'm being extreme here.
I think we're uncovering a huge topic here. As you're talking, I'm thinking of things, how much this can escalate.
Yeah.
Because in my case, that person, I don't know if, you know, that is happening outside of him, you know, that person coming to the the practice and wanting a treatment, but he's a person in society living life with that mindset, which is dangerous in my eyes. And so this is why I felt I had to take action, and with the police. But also there is a expectation from that person that is a service that is offered, which also needs to be addressed. These services are being offered elsewhere. So how do we identify them? And is it legal in different countries? It's such a huge topic.
It is.
And also, yeah, I just, one other point before we kind of go into the information side of things. Are we educated enough and trained enough at college level as a therapist to deal with these situations? Because I definitely don't think, and I'm quite a streetwise savvy person in general, but even when that experience occurred, I didn't know how I didn't react how I thought I would react. I did the right thing, but I definitely thought I would be coping better than I did. And also the element of, am I making a big deal out of something? What's that all about? That this, like I said, it was over 10 years ago. That is systematically in my mind. I was questioning whether I was making a big deal out of this. Of course, make a big deal out of it, because it is a big deal. And don't be scared to make a big deal out of it,
I mean, when I did my massage training many moons ago, I was trained through an iTech college. We had a small lesson on what if. And I have to say, in some respects, that stood me in good stead. But on the other side, I think they could have spent a little bit more time going into some role playing. I think that would have been a very valuable part of my education. Would have been, I mean, again, very streetwise. I came later into the massage. I had a whole other career before that, which also had, I suppose I can say this, I was chased around the office by my boss, who was drunk, and chained to the desk with a pair of handcuffs because he thought that would be funny at Christmas time.
Actually joking?
I'm not actually joking there. I mean, I actually purposely left that particular position because I felt thoroughly and utterly threatened by this man. And it was at that time, it was back in the 80s, showing my age here, late 80s, early 90s. And it was kind of very much brushed off. I think he got a slap wrist and that was about it. But, that for me was the most traumatic experience I'd ever had. So I'd had that kind of experience before I went into massage. And of course, that training that we had was good. It stood me in good stead. But, I can tell you, every month I get a phone call from some person. I'm not going to mention any sex here because it wouldn't be fair, but just to say that I get regular requests for massages that I think I know what they're looking for. And I have a couple of key questions that I ask and a couple of key things that I tell as a filter. And luckily that has now meant that I have never had anybody come through my door anymore that has expected anything extra.
What are those questions? Do you have a one to hand that you can think of that you would ask them?
So I would ask them, I would ask them, so for what reason are you coming today for a massage? Or are you looking to book this massage?
Yeah.
And it's usually, I just want to relax. I say, well, is there any specific area of your body where you are experiencing pain? I use the word pain, or do you have a medical condition that is causing this pain? So I let them know right from the very start that I'm coming from a medical perspective. So they say relax, I say I go more medical. And then after a while, we could dance around the houses, which is fine because they're paying for the call. So we dance around the houses a bit more. And I say, well, let me tell you how I work.
Mm-hmm.
And I make it very clear. I said, we do a medical intake. Then we will, you will keep your underwear on, you will lie on a table, and you will be underneath a big sheet, and I will only remove the piece of the sheet to work on the body part that I'm working on. So right from the very start, I let them know that there's no nakedness. They will be covered completely all the time, and I'm in charge.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to come over right from the beginning. But I can do that because I'm in business, you know, I have my own business. But in a spa setting, I can imagine that is not always possible. So again, that comes down to the spa itself, from making it perfectly clear that, you know, any misconduct will not be tolerated, and that person will be banned from the spa and will be, you know, we were always told, this treatment is now ending. There will be no charge, and please do not come back again. That's how we were taught as well, especially if there was an inappropriate hand contact by that person. We were told to stop there and then and to tell them to leave.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard stories from therapists of therapists having to leave the room before the treatment even begins, refusing to go back in that room because they know something's wrong. And just to know there's a team of people there that can help you in that environment is actually a nice thing to know. Absolutely. But what happens to the independent therapists and practitioners when, especially if you're, you know, if you go back to freelancing, and when we've done this, I've been there, you know, where I've been to home visits. I always let my sort of next of kin know the address that I'm going to, and or did, you know, go to, and, you know, when I was going to be there and when I expected to finish. So there was always someone who knew where I was, which I think is really important if you're an independent therapist.
Yeah.
But then there's not actually that blanket support that I would imagine is there in the spa environment in a business setting.
Well, you say that but recently I had a young therapist tell me that she specifically left the spa and gone back to work into a beauty salon because this situation occurred and her spa manager did not support her.
Wow.
And said it was okay. And she said, no, I just felt that wasn't okay. And I said, you did the right thing, actually.
But she's kind of suffering the consequence of having to leave her job, which is not great. That should never happen. That
should never happen, exactly. I mean, yes, we talk about the individual therapist as we have choices to make. And I think that's awfully sad as well, that people who do need us, we might be put off from treating them because we won't, perhaps we're as independent therapists, we won't go to the home visits. We won't take, let's say as a female therapist, perhaps I've actually said I don't treat male clients unless they are recommended to me by somebody I know extremely well, or I know their partner.
Yeah.
And so I've stopped. I've just said now, when people phone now, I just say, I'm sorry, I don't treat men. And I think that's also really sad, because I know that a lot of my good male clients that I've had over the years, you know, I've got so much out of it in terms of stress release and problems that, you know, I feel like, you know, indirectly, you know, of somebody else's behavior is actually preventing somebody else from getting the therapy that they need.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. It's limiting overall.
Yeah. And we limit our business maybe, or we can become fearful of people, which is also very sad.
Yeah. You mentioned there about being very clear about people not taking their clothes off or their underwear off. But in certain cultures, that's quite normal. There's some European countries that, you know, expect parts of their body to be massaged, and they're quite comfortable exposing parts of their body, like their breasts or the buttocks, you know, that kind of thing. That's a cultural thing. So again, I think there's a even bigger conversation to be had, that what's going on, and where's the boundary, where's the sort of line, you know. It's really interesting, because I think massage and body treatments fundamentally are still seen as a luxury and a treat, and perhaps a sensual thing. It's you know, but that's accepted. And then there's the non-consensual part of it in an environment or part of our industry that is not accepted. So
yeah,
it's hard to distinguish, isn't it?
It's so hard. And you and I both know that lower back pain can be also related to muscles in the gluteals that are trapped and blocked, and nerves and things. And there is nothing better than trying to really get in there. But I guess as well, it's about towel draping. It's about, you know, teaching the movements that we make. I always remember in the college, we always worked with a massive, great big sheet. And I still to this day work with sheets, because I find it the easiest way to make sure that everything is where it should be. Yeah. But it means that I can work on areas of the body that I want to work on. And, you know, you can firm, you can create lines, you can create boundaries with towels, if you see what I mean. I don't think if I feel there's a boundary, then I'm not expecting anybody, when I have a massage, to go any further than that.
Exactly. Draping is so important, and the amount of time I spend refreshing therapists' draping techniques in training really baffles me sometimes, because I'm sure this was one of the main things I learned in college, was the draping. But that was more of a remedial like training that I did to start with. That was one of the most important things, the draping. But the draping quality definitely needs to be improved overall, across the board, because I think that there's no consistency between therapist to therapist. I see a big inconsistency with draping. So that's interesting. Going back, go on.
No, I was going to say, we've got lots of topics here, but let's roll that back upstream and say, let's first of all not get into that situation. Let's first of all find a way to be very clear right from the very start what is allowed and what's not allowed. And have in place protocols that allow people to end the session, and for somebody to know that this session has been ended because your behavior is inappropriate. And then we don't have to, and then, I mean, draping, I agree, could always be refreshed, but let's go back to right from the very start and say, let's nip this in the bud. You know, your behavior is not appropriate. This treatment is being ended. There'll be no charge today, but please do not come back again.
I think, Julie, what we'll do is we will publish the 3 main questions that we ask in that situation, which will help put roadblocks in the way of these things happening. And we'll make sure that we share those questions on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn platforms for the Spa Sisters podcast, along with obviously the survey. So going back to the ThinkTree survey, just a quick one, was this survey is for, you don't have to be part of the professional body to take the survey. This is for anyone and everyone who works in our industry.
They have asked us to spread it far and wide to friends, therapists of friends, because the more information we gather, the better we get a picture of what is happening within our industry. So let's not limit it. And they want you to also clarify a few bits, you know, whether you're male, female, other, whether you want to you know, state whether you are an independent therapist, you work in a spa setting, you work from home, whatever. So all of that information is really vital, but nothing has to be filled out, because if you are feeling really triggered by the survey, then just answer what you feel you can answer. And even that is also going to be valuable information as well.
I've got the survey in front of me, and it does say that it's a solutions-led survey. They want to look at the potential solutions for this very problematic issue that we face. And there is a trigger warning on the survey as well. Some of these questions about experiences that may have been traumatic. Please feel free to pass on questions that could upset, and please reach out if you need support. So that is fantastic. They are offering support. And the demographic data is just for analysis only. And some of these questions are really, you know, quite straight. In what setting is your business based? So getting the overall picture, as you said. And which modality do you work in? Do you work solo or with other practitioners? Agencies, third-party employees feel their safeguarding policies and procedures are sufficient. And there's like a tick box kind of method. So yes, I'm definitely going to do this as soon as we finish this podcast and submit my survey, because, you know, I've had one or two experiences and then that very more serious experience, and it's so important to share this. So if you want access to the survey, we are putting it on all of our social channels. Our email address, as always, is spasisterspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to reach out to us for extra support, we can point you in the right direction and support you between myself and Julie. And I really am keen to see the outcome of this. I think it's really important. I've just seen here, actually, clients making inappropriate sexual jokes or comments during a treatment. I can relate 100% to this. So I'm glad that something's being done about it.
Me too. Well, thank you, Carly. I mean, as you probably got unaware, this is a topic that I get very about, but it's one that definitely is something that we can no longer tolerate. No, absolutely not. Thank you for bringing it to the surface. It's really important. A pleasure. And as always, the Spa Sisters here are all about bringing voices together, and we want to hear from you. So please, please, please do reach out to us privately through the email, or as Carly says, through any of our channels. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.